Let's dive into a timeless story about three men, a cave, and the incredible power of our past actions. And look, this isn't just a survival tale. It's a really profound look at sincerity, virtue, and what it actually means to do good in the world.
So, before we jump in, I want you to hold this question in your mind. What's the true measure of a good deed? Is it just the action itself, the sacrifice involved, or is it something deeper, like the intention behind it all? This question, you'll see, is the absolute heart of the story.
All right, let's set the scene. We're about to see a journey take a sudden, terrifying turn, throwing our characters into what seems like a totally hopeless situation. Okay, so picture this. Three men traveling together. We don't know who they are or where they're going, just that they're companions on a road. Just like any of us. And then, out of nowhere, disaster strikes. A huge, violent storm just rolls in, and they have to scramble for the nearest shelter they can find, which happens to be a dark little cave.
And this is where things go from bad to terrifying. While they're huddled inside, this massive rock tumbles down the mountain and completely seals the entrance. Boom! They're plunged into total darkness, completely cut off from the world. They're trapped.
In that darkness, feeling completely desperate, they come up with a plan. They realize their only way out is to pray, but not just any prayer. They agree that each of them will call to mind the single most sincere, virtuous thing they have ever done, an act done purely for God's sake, and hope its merit is enough to save them.
So the first man steps up. His story is this powerful test of devotion, specifically his devotion to his parents.
So the first man tells this incredible story. He had these elderly parents, and he had a rule. He'd always serve them their evening milk before anyone else, even his own kids. Well, one night, he gets home late and finds them asleep. Now, instead of waking them up, or even feeding his own children who were literally crying from hunger at his feet, he just stood there, all night long, with the milk in his hand, patiently waiting for them to wake up at dawn. His prayer was simple. "O Lord, if I did this seeking only your pleasure, then please relieve us."
And then, something amazing happens. The rock actually grinds open, but just a little. A sliver of light cuts through the darkness, but the opening isn't big enough to escape. Can you imagine the feeling in that cave? That mix of incredible hope and absolute dread. It worked, but it wasn't enough. Now, all the pressure is on the second man.
Okay, so it's the second man's turn, and his story is about a deep moral struggle, a true test of restraint when faced with overwhelming temptation. Now, this one is intense. The man confesses that he was deeply, passionately in love with his cousin. During a famine, she came to him desperate for help. He offered her 120 gold coins, but only if she'd be with him. She was so desperate that she agreed, but right at that final moment, she pleaded with him, "Fear God." And her words, they just hit him. They struck his conscience so hard that he immediately pulled away, let her keep all the money, and walked away from the thing he wanted most in the world. He ends his prayer, "O Lord, if I did this, seeking only your pleasure, then move this distress." And once again, the rock moves. The opening gets wider, more light floods in, more hope, but they're still trapped. They can see the outside world, but they can't get to it. It's all down to the last guy. Everything is riding on his story.
All right, here we go. The final plea. This man's story is this quiet but incredibly powerful example of integrity and what it means to truly fulfill a trust.
So the third man talks about a laborer he once hired. The guy did the work but left before collecting his wages. Now, instead of just pocketing the money, the man invested it. And over the years, that one small wage grew and grew into a massive fortune. We're talking herds of camels, cattle, goats, even slaves. Years later, the laborer comes back, asking for his original pay. The man just gestures to this entire fortune and says, "All of that, it's all yours." The laborer is stunned. He thinks it's a joke. But the man insists, and the laborer takes everything, leaving nothing behind.
The man finishes his plea. "O Lord, if I did this seeking only for your pleasure, relieve us of our distress." And with that final prayer, the rock rolled completely away. All three men just walked out of that cave free.
Wow. I mean, this story is so much more than just a cool escape story, right? It's basically a masterclass in what makes an action truly count. So let's break down the principles that their stories and their freedom really show us.
So what were the magic ingredients here? What were the virtues that literally moved a mountain?
Well, it all starts with the power of sincerity. Did you notice that? It's the one thread that connects every single story. Each man said his deed was done purely for God's pleasure, not for fame, not for praise from other people. It was all about an unseen intention. And from that sincerity, everything else flows. That profound piety to his parents, even at great personal cost. The incredible strength of restraint, walking away from his deepest desire when it was right there in front of him. And that unshakable duty of integrity, fulfilling a trust so far beyond what anyone would have expected. Really, the whole story gives us a new way to think about prayer, that our past good actions, when done with pure intention, can become our most powerful way of asking for help.
And that really brings it all back to us, to you. This ancient story isn't just something to listen to, it's a mirror. It forces us to ask a really tough, personal question. If you were trapped in that darkness, with everything on the line, what's the one single, purely sincere deed you've done that you would put forward to save yourself? What story would you tell?